What is going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. In this video we are going to be doing another analytical gun video talking about the time to kill stats, recoil patterns, and stuff like that. In today's video we are going to be looking at the FFAR1 from Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. We're going to be comparing this gun to some of the other assault rifles that we've already done videos on, as well as how this gun changed whenever it got integrated from Black Ops Cold War to Modern Warfare. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So starting off, it has a damage of 33. This is the damage that it is going to apply whenever shooting at the upper chest. It has an effective damage range of 40 meters. This is where the damage is going to drop off to 25 from 33, making it an 8-shot kill at 35 meters and then a 10-shot kill at 40 meters. And this is with 3 plates of armor in Warzone at 250 health. It has a fire rate of 909 rounds per minute. This is very fast, especially for an assault rifle. This should be the fastest assault rifle in all of Warzone, including the new Black Ops Cold War weapons. It has a bullet velocity of 667 meters per second, which is kind of on par with the other guns from Black Ops Cold War. I would expect all the assault rifles to be about 650 meters per second. That's actually probably what their true bullet velocity is. But this is something that's kind of hard to measure because you have to basically shoot at a building that's far away and then go frame by frame and do like cross multiplication to get it. It has an aim down sight speed of 300 milliseconds, which, like all the other assault rifles I've done, have this same aim down sight speed, and nothing has really changed here from Black Ops Cold War to this weapon in terms of ADS. A magazine ammo capacity of 25 and a reload quickness of 1.44 seconds. This is pretty quick. And this is honestly almost the entire animation. There's not a lot that was left out that you could cancel right after the bullets actually pop up on your HUD. So moving on to the recoil pattern here, it has this snake-like recoil pattern. So the live recoil pattern can be seen right here. As you can see, it kind of just zigzags all the way up, and actually zigzags up pretty high, making it kind of comparable to like the verticality of something like an AK-47, making it very hard to control just because it doesn't go straight up, so it's going to be kind of hard to adjust your thumbstick as you're fighting back the recoil as it keeps on kind of shaking from side to side in a strange snake-like recoil pattern. Moving on to the time to kill to this gun, it is going to be between 0.83 seconds and 1.07 seconds. The time to kill calculation that I use includes both the ADS speed and how long it's going to take the last bullet to leave the gun and go a certain distance. So for example, right here, this little end portion of the equation is going to be how long it takes the gun for a bullet to travel 35 meters. So what you end up with whenever you take a look at the graph is this sort of downward sloping time to kill. And I must say, this is a very fast time to kill whenever you compare it to the other assault rifles. I'll show the graph later on in the video where you see all of the assault rifles together. But right here, something to note is that it is going to be a 16% increase to time to kill at 40 meters, which is going to be this big downward slope here, which honestly isn't that big of a deal considering the fact that does take an extra 2 bullets, but because this gun fires so quickly, that extra time it's going to take is not going to be very much because of the high fire rate on this weapon. And something else to note too is that honestly I think that this weapon is going to be more valuable under 35 meters, so this is probably the time to kill that you're going to be seeing whenever in situations that you should be using this weapon, which is kind of like an up close assault rifle that's kind of like an SMG, but still kind of competes very well between 20 and 30 meters, even though it has a very high fire rate, which makes this gun very useful up close. Looking at how this gun changed from Black Ops Cold War to Warzone, you can see here that it got a damage boost, it got an effective damage range boost, the fire rate's the same, which is what we've been seeing for all of the weapons converting from Black Ops Cold War to Warzone. This seems to be the only stat that actually stayed consistent. The bullet velocity, I honestly could see this being the same too, but we got 667 in my calculation, so this is what I'm going to show. And the ADS is the same, ammo is the same. This 2.1 seconds is probably actually the time of the entire animation, whereas this 1.44 is where you can kind of cancel the rest of the animation whenever you actually see the bullets come into your HUD. So looking at the different recoil patterns, to be honest with you, I don't know which one's better. They're different, but they both suck. This bow-like recoil is going to be the post-patch FFAR one. If you guys didn't know, they recently buffed this gun about a week or two ago, I believe. And then this is the recoil pattern that we just saw, where it's kind of like a snake-like recoil pattern. I think that this one's easier to predict, but I think that this one on the right here is easier to control. So the weapon did get a slightly easier to control, but it's still very, like it's just different. Like they both suck, but this one, I guess you could argue that it is a little bit better. Whenever looking at the time to kill of this weapon from Black Ops Cold War to Warzone, like I said, the gun got like an overall buff altogether, so you can see that this graph just kind of shifted upwards. Another thing about my time to kill graph that I forgot to mention earlier is that I have the y-axis in reverse order, so it's much easier to see which gun is better whenever you compare them, because you just look at whatever one is on top, has the fastest time to kill, and therefore is the better weapon. Moving on to how the FFAR1 compares to the other assault rifles that I've tested so far. Something to note is that its damage is middle of the road, but its fire rate is the fastest by far. The only thing that really competes with its fire rate is the M4, which is at 800, but there's a very big difference between 800 and 909, especially whenever you consider the fact that the FFAR does 5 points of damage more per bullet than the M4 does, and the effective damage range is also much better on the FFAR1, making this gun, like I keep saying, very viable between that short to medium range. The only thing that hurts it, honestly, is its recoil. Now, if you take a look at the other assault rifle recoil patterns, here you have the FFAR1 in the top right corner. If we go ahead and move my camera to the left here, it kind of looks like the recoil pattern from the Krig 6, but this little snake thing here really messes up your recoil. And you can see this little line right here that cuts this building in half is only right here on the Krig 6. So this gun does go very high up, similar to like an AK-47 from either Modern Warfare or Black Ops Cold War, which is why I'm going to label this one red, as in it's going to be very hard to control, even with attachments on it. But that doesn't mean it's not a viable gun. I think that this gun could be very useful inside 30 meters, especially with the right loadout. That's going to help shrink that pattern a little bit, and maybe even kind of cut down on the verticality a little bit as well. I think that this gun could be paired very well with a fast ADS sniper like an SPR or a Kar 98, which if you see a guy that's about 50 meters away, you can still take them out with your secondary gun if it is a sniper rifle. Looking at the assault rifle time to kill graph for all the assault rifles that we have tested so far, here's my ranking on the right hand side with the M4A1 on top. That is going to be this line right here. Let me go ahead and grab it. And the reason why I have it on top is because it has a very decent damage range, competing with something like an AK-47 or the FFAR1 that we just tested, but it does have it's very accurate. Whereas something like the Krig 6 is a little more accurate, but its time to kill is very bad. But in this video, we are focusing on the FFAR1, so let's talk about that. So it is actually this orange line on top, meaning that it does have the best, fastest time to kill out of all the assault rifles that we've tested, and I would predict this one to probably have the fastest time to kill of every assault rifle in the game, just because of its fast fire rate and its high damage. That being said, the recoil is very bad, so I would rank this one as the 4th best assault rifle, just because most people use an assault rifle to kind of win the gunfights between 20 and 60 meters, whereas I don't think that is going to be the case here. This assault rifle is going to dominate everything between 0 and I would probably say up to 30, maybe 35 meters, but that's when things kind of get a little bit more difficult. But right now I'm going to show you guys kind of a loadout that I would use with this weapon, and then I'm going to test the recoil pattern on this weapon with its loadout attachments as well. So the attachments that I would use on this gun, the iron sights really aren't that bad, especially if your goal is to engage people less than 35 meters away. I think the iron sights are actually quite good for that range, especially because they're a little bulky on the bottom, but they do have an open top, making it very easy to see enemies, especially up close. But for the muzzle, I would use an agency suppressor. This suppressor is the same thing as a monolithic suppressor. I recommend using on every single gun that you have. And same thing with the barrel, very consistent here. Something that's going to boost the effective damage range and the bullet velocity, whereas these other barrels only do one or the other. And then this bottom one here actually makes the recoil worse. And I did a video on it, and it doesn't actually make the damage any better. The Task Force barrel does not improve your damage in Warzone yet. I think that they might come out with a patch that makes it do that, or at least something that, you know, makes that attachment more useful, because right now it hurts you a lot, but it doesn't really give you any benefits. Field Agent Grip, this is another one of those standard things that I would use on all of your weapons, mostly just because this grip is going to give you vertical recoil control and horizontal recoil control at the same time, whereas no other grip does that. Actually, some of them make your vertical recoil or horizontal worse. I think it's vice versa. Or it doesn't give you like a lot of benefits. Like here, the foregrip is good, but it doesn't give you that vertical recoil control as well. Moving on to ammo, I think this is really important for this gun because its fire rate is so high, and it only comes with a standard 25 round magazine. I would recommend highly to double this to 50 and do the fast mag, because you are going to be mag dumping a lot with this gun just because of its fast fire rate. And it's bad recoil. You know, you're going to miss a lot of shots here, but this gun's very forgiving because of that fast fire rate as well, so that the more shots you miss is not going to hurt your time to kill as much as missing shots with something like an AK-47 that has a lower fire rate. For this fifth attachment, honestly, the choice is up to you. I would recommend using this jungle grip just because you get 8am sight speed and a little bit of flinch resistance as well. There is flinch resistance in Warzone, whereas there wasn't in Black Ops Cold War. So I would recommend using this attachment here. But I could argue that you could use either an optic if you don't like the iron sights. Honestly, because this is kind of a close quarters weapon, you could also use something like the SWAT 5 megawatt laser sight, which is going to maximize your hip fire accuracy, or even something like the SAS combat stock, because it's going to make you be able to strafe left and right a lot quicker. And this is very useful for up close engagements, because if you're strafing left or right, that's going to be harder for your enemy to track you. So moving on to how this gun plays out in game, we're going to take a look at its recoil pattern. Something that I'm going to mention about the iron sights real quick that I just realized while recording this video is that it doesn't actually have an open top like I mentioned. I thought the iron sights are actually more like the Grau, but because the circle is so large, you don't even notice it. Especially, I like that the circle is very large, so you can just see straight through the circle, and it's not very bulky, so it doesn't distract you in any way. I do like the iron sights on this gun a lot, but that's kind of an opinionated thing that a lot of people might not agree with. But going on to the recoil, this is going to be the recoil pattern of the gun that we just showed with all the attachments, and this is going to be without me doing anything to control the recoil at all.
Marking rally point.
So we're 15 meters away. This is the distance that I use for every single assault rifle, every single gun. Whenever I'm testing the recoil pattern, I stay 15 meters away.
Cancel.
So you can see the first 25 bullets don't quite hit that top grayed out area right there, meaning that this gun did do very well with controlling its vertical recoil, and you can see also that it is squeezed as well, making this pattern not so bad. You compare the first 25 shots from earlier and the 25 shots now. The earlier one went all the way up to the 10 right here, whereas with this new weapon, the first 25 shots ended right here. So that is quite a big difference in terms of vertical recoil and as well as the horizontal recoil. It doesn't seem as snaky. It's just this one little S right here, which makes this gun a lot easier to control with these attachments than it was beforehand. And
Reloading.
right now, we're going to reload the gun, and we're going to try and control the recoil on this, just so you can see how, like, what would your recoil look like as a user using this gun, because obviously you're not going to let the gun just go straight up the building. So by pulling down on the thumbstick just a little bit, you can see the recoil right there, and it's really not bad. It kind of creates like a small, not like a small cluster, but a pretty good cluster right here, and that's why I think this gun is going to be very viable upwards to 35 meters. After 35 meters, I've done some testing just on the bots in the area, and it is kind of hard to control it past that. It gets carried away very quickly, and it does, that S movement does make things a little bit difficult to control. But I think inside 35 meters, this gun is very viable and is going to dominate that range. And that is going to conclude my video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you learned something, please give it a like. And if you want more videos like this to your feed on YouTube, I suggest subscribe to my channel with notifications on so you never miss a video. I post daily here on my channel with videos just like this one, comparing guns and doing, deep dive analytics of all the guns. But with all that being said, I hope you all have a great day.